Welcome back to the Sunday Night Football on NBC Eras Tour. I'm Alex Frank at Frankie_Natty on Twitter. He is Chase Younts at YountsChase32 on Twitter. Chase, we are 10 days away from a game on NBC.
Dude, we're close. I don't even care if the game is in July. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame game. We're not going to see any starters, but guess what? Mike and Chris are back. Melissa, the Sunday Night Football theme music. Football's back in the NFL. We're not that far from it.
You know, I was on my Saturday morning run at the Brew Runners Club of Cincinnati, which I happened to see a car drive by me on Saturday. I think you were driving the car, if I remember correctly.
I was operating the motor vehicle, yes.
Okay, so that was after I had come up with what the Sunday Night Football theme song open could look like. What they could do is they could have like these big graphics that say 20 years, 14 years as Primetime's #1 show. Welcome to Sunday Night Football on NBC, and then straight into Carrie Underwood. Can you imagine that?
That would be pretty dope. There's a lot of different things they could do with this one. I think this has the potential to be the best one yet, the best theme song yet.
The best theme song yet. Well, we got Lions and Chargers. We got Lions and Chargers in 10 days, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. And then before you know it, we are 45 days away from opening night kickoff. We are like football is back. Like the Cowboys are practicing on this Monday, Chase.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close. You know, it's 40 days and 40 nights. Like we're truly almost there. I'm super excited for that. The Bengals will be practicing over my right shoulder in 2 days, the full team. So I'm super excited to see what we've got, and just, the NFL is on its way back. Football as a whole on its way back.
It is. And the Eras Tour is back. We've got a fun era of Sunday Night Football on NBC to look at today. 2009 and 2010, as Sunday Night Football on NBC turns a page. Its 4th and 5th seasons. Chase, I'm going to turn it over to you to start, because I want to hear what you have to say about the impact that Cris Collinsworth has had on Sunday Night Football on NBC, NFL football in general, and for football fans everywhere. What can you say about his impact that he has had?
Well, this was the first full season of Sunday Night Football that I remember watching. And, obviously it is impossible to fill the shoes of John Madden in the booth. It is impossible to do. But what Cris Collinsworth has done, and people, there are people that love Cris Collinsworth. There are people that are not fond of Cris Collinsworth. I love listening to Cris Collinsworth. All right. That guy knows the game of football. I would say better than any analyst out there in the National Football League. All right. He knows ball. And I think what was interesting with his story is that for those first 3 years on NBC, he was doing obviously All Football Night in America. He was calling Thursday night football games on NFL Network later in the season. He also did Inside the NFL for a very long time. So he was appearing on a lot of different shows in that 3-year time period. But before that, he was on Fox. He was on Fox's main team for a bit with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. He called a Super Bowl with them. And then before that, being, he worked with NBC before and everything else. So he had been around for a bit as an analyst that, was kind of making his way up and, very, outspoken. He was not afraid to really put his true opinion out there about a player, or how a game is going. So as that time went on and Cris Collinsworth got that chance, I mean, us being people from the Southwest Ohio area and seeing him, play for the Bengals, and, he still lives here in this area and stuff like that. It is really cool to see that guy in Cris Collinsworth. Now here's a guy take that leap into the national level and really be known as one of the best analysts in all of football. And that partnership that him and Al Michaels, initially were able to make in 2009, I mean, it was certainly incredible. You even hear it in the theme song. Al and Cris are the best on TV. I think that was pretty undisputed as time has gone on. And as Alex has mentioned, 14 years is the number one show in prime time. I mean, there's a reason behind it. The games are great, but the people that are calling the games as well, they're great storytellers, and those personalities of them also make the show drive. And that's why it's not really much of a competition as to why SNF is so great. Cris Collinsworth's impact is undeniable.
Okay, so you mentioned John Madden is who Cris Collinsworth replaced. And John Madden's one of one. You and I both know that. But there's a similarity between Cris and John. They both don't have to be over the top to let you know their passion for the game is very, very real. There are certain announcers that have to do more to make you believe that they are like football aficionados, that they care deeply about the game. When Cris Collinsworth, there is a natural flow to his voice whenever Al sets him up, whenever Mike Tirico sets him up, when anybody that he has worked with sets him up for analysis, whether it be in the open, whether it be during the game. You can tell it just flows right from him. He cares deeply about the game. He cares deeply about the fact that he was a Florida Gator, that he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. That's the thing that stands out to me, is that here is the best NFL analyst in the United States of America, and he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that has come into more of a focus over the last few seasons as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have legitimized the Bengals with a Super Bowl run and then going back to the AFC Championship game the following season. But Cris Collinsworth, you can tell that he is incredibly passionate, detailed, and caring about the work that he does, preparing for games, interacting with players and coaches. He's not a journalist, okay? He's not. And these former players that are now broadcasters, some of them can become journalistic-like. Collinsworth really isn't that. Collinsworth is more, I want to talk football. I want to have a casual conversation with the 20-plus million listeners or viewers that are tuned into the Sunday Night Football and NBC game. I mean, they say we're waiting all day for Sunday night, which is the name of this podcast, which I just realized I didn't mention in the open, but that's okay. We are the waiting all day for Sunday night podcast, as we are just 46 days away from its 20th season getting underway. You wait all day for Sunday night to listen to Cris Collinsworth. His cultural impact as a game analyst. Is it what John Madden did? No. But it's pretty darn up there with the best that have done it. Like, think about John Gruden. John Gruden was in the Monday Night Football booth for 9 seasons. And is John Gruden passionate about football? Absolutely. But he had to go over the top to show you. Cris Collinsworth he's like, all right, let's look at the Walmart Skycam brought to you by Walmart 4K Plus or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or 4K Skycam brought to you by Walmart Plus. I just jumbled up the words originally there.
It's a lot.
So he'll just like, it's like he's having a conversation drinking a beer at the beach. That's what you want in a game analyst in a big game when these two teams lay it all on the line. The stars come out on Sunday Night Football. The stars collide on Sunday Night Football. And Collinsworth has had a huge impact on the franchise, the game itself. I mean, he's worked his way up. I mean, he started doing Notre Dame football, and then he moved to Fox. As you said, he called a Super Bowl. He went to the studio on Football Night in America, and you could just tell. You can throw him into any environment, and his charisma and his preparation and his passion for the game were going to ultimately be what allows him to succeed in any environment, and that's exactly what has happened. I mean, Al and Cris for 13 years were the best duo in television.
I think it was undeniable. It truly was. Like, you're thinking about you're thinking, like, obviously, there have been other guys that have gone through. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, very long time of them being a duo together. It has been. Jim Nantz and Phil Simms turned to Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Great competition everywhere else, but it's been Al and Cris.
Yeah, Greg Gumbel and Dan Deerdorf, Al Michaels and John Madden were together for 7 years. But Al and Cris, they were a standalone game with the whole nation tuning in. They called 4 Super Bowls together. And by the way, all 4 Super Bowls they covered were decided by 8 points or less. So just going to throw that in there.
I'll give you another one, Alex. All 4 of those games, the winning team was down with 2 minutes to go.
Wow. You're right.
Thriller. No Michael Jackson. Continue.
Now, okay. Were the Eagles – okay. Yeah, the Eagles were down late. I think they scored with over 2 minutes left. But to your point, they were down with less than 5 minutes to go. And it took a replay review of a play that at the time was in the crosshairs of what's a catch, what's not a catch. And, of course, Cris Collinsworth, if you remember Super Bowl 52 as well as anybody, He goes – or Al Michaels, I think, goes, "You tell me." And Chris was like, "All right, well, it's just that they made broadcasting a football game, a Super Bowl, as if they were just having a casual conversation with you at a lodge at Lake Superior in Minnesota during the winter with the fireplace going. That's how you want to watch football. And Cris Collinsworth was a big part in that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, just even look at some of the games that the duo called first. And obviously, there was one game where Cris Collinsworth called with Al Michaels in Week 7 of 2008. It was Seahawks-Bucks game and everything else. But, when they first really were, when they were a duo that was to be destined, a game that stuck out to me and a game that sticks out to everybody was the debut of Jerry's World, Week 2, 2009. And this massive state-of-the-art stadium that was this is an absolute just dream. It's insane. It's a build a stadium, build a bear workshop. It's whatever you want to call it. And it was you had Eli Manning and the Giants come in there. This is Cris Collinsworth's technically his 3rd game of the season that he's calling on NBC after opening night in Week 1, and both of those were huge. But to have that great of a game being called and that great of a game being played, I mean, it just goes down in Al and Chris's great moments right from the start, and you would see more of that as the 13 years of them went on.
So that game, the Giants won 33-31. Eli Manning, 25 of 38, 332 touchdowns. The Giants had 2 receivers with 10 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Mario Manningham and Steve Smith. Not the Steve Smith you're thinking of, not the one that tells you to ice up. This is the other Steve Smith. Tony Romo was 13 of 29 for 127 and a touchdown, but 3 interceptions. The Cowboys outrushed the Giants 251-97, but 4 turnovers doomed them in this game, and Lawrence Tynes hit a 37-yard field goal as time expired to win the game. Faith Hill, of course, in the Sunday Night Football on NBC theme song, Jerry built a palace with a hole in the roof. Well, apparently there were holes in the Cowboys' offense because they kept turning the ball over that night. But I want to go to real quick. So the first 2 games they did, the first 2 games of opening weekend, and this is when, so the 09 season started on September the 10th. So this is the latest an NFL season can start. So it started September 10th. It was the Titans and the Steelers in Pittsburgh and Heinz Field. So the SNF on NBC franchise, in its first 3 seasons, in the first era we did, it started in Pittsburgh. Now again, it starts in Pittsburgh after a Super Bowl championship. Chase, this game, the Steelers won 13-10. It was a matchup between the top 2 seeds in the AFC the previous season. But this game is best remembered because Troy Polamalu got injured in this game. And did this game birth the Madden curse? Interesting, because this was John Madden's first game he didn't call.
That is actually crazy when you think about that. Wow.
Just throw an anecdote in there.
I don't know, man. I mean, on that rush hour traffic, but I mean, I don't know. That's actually a great question. I haven't really thought about that. I mean, wow. If it started the Madden curse
at the time. Now the Madden curse has since kind of gone by the wayside.
Yeah, because you had in Madden 10 you had Larry and Troy on the cover.
Yes.
I mean, Larry had a pretty good season in 09. That was one of the rare ones where you had 2 people on the cover, and recent history had Holmes and Brady. But I never thought of that, Alex. I never did. I never have thought of that before. That Troy Polamalu, of all people, started.
And Troy Polamalu, who the next season, as we'll get to, was Defensive Player of the Year. So Madden 10 was who we just mentioned, Fitzgerald and Polamalu. Madden 11 was Drew Brees, and he had a fine season in 2010. Madden 12 was Peyton Hillis. Well,
I'm going to say this, man. Let me just say this. I mean, for crying out loud, Vince Young was on the cover of Madden. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That in itself is pretty wild to think about. Vince Young was on the cover. Brett Favre was on the cover, went to the Jets, and they collapsed at the end of the season. I mean, like, injury-wise, yes, that's I know it's the Madden curse and stuff, but I don't know. Just Sean Alexander fell off the face of the earth after he got on the Madden cover.
He was a one-hit wonder. There was any running back that was a one-hit wonder. Peyton Hillis, who was on Madden 13.
It's like, now that I think about it, my answer is no. I mean, I think the couple guys before, I think they were all prime examples that, stuff just didn't go well afterwards. I mean,
Michaels used to be the play-by-play announcer on the Madden game.
Yeah, that too. Because when he stopped doing that, I think it was after 06. I think Madden 06 was when he stopped on that.
Something like that. Because then Tom Hammond did it. It was like Tom Hammond and Charles Davis or somebody.
Yeah. I think it was.
We're throwing names out here. Anyway, so the Steelers. By the way, both teams, the Titans and Steelers, would miss the playoffs in 2009. Yeah. If that's crazy enough. Mm-hmm. Week 1 Sunday Night Football on NBC was Bears-Packers. The Packers won the game on a game-winning 50-yard touchdown from Aaron Rodgers to Greg Jennings with just over a minute to go. Then we get to Giants-Cowboys, which we just mentioned. So we go down the list, weeks 3 through 9. Of course, this was still when there was not a game during the week of the World Series, which that year was the Yankees and the Phillies. The Yankees winning the World Series in 6 games. So we had Colts Cardinals. I mean, Peyton Manning, of course, in typical Peyton Manning Colts offense form. There was a Colts Titans game, week 5 of 2009.
That was
yeah. Do you remember what happened the next week to the Titans? They played in the featured game on CBS against the Patriots.
Yeah, blizzard in October. Huh?
Have you seen the box score from that game?
Oh, I've seen it. You told me about it. And I remember that game as it kept going. I remember, and I'm like, wow, snowy game, October, absolute demolition. So, yeah.
The Patriots the week prior played a game in Denver, and Denver wore like their weird throwback uniforms or something, and it was like 30 degrees in early October, and Denver beat New England. So maybe they took their entire revenge out on the Tennessee Titans. So we go through, we got week 9, Sunday Night Football on NBC, one of the more enduring images, core memories, Jason Witten, the helmetless Jason Witten running through the turf at Lincoln Financial Field.
I think that was 07.
That was 07?
It was 07. But again, that was 07. The Eagles were wearing their whites, Cowboys were wearing their blue.
Wow. This whole time I've been thinking it's 09.
You know what? There's been so many Cowboys-Eagles games. Like, there's been so many times they've played on, and then they're literally starting off the season this year. There you go. I think it's just a sign. It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, speaking of the Cowboys.
Most frequent match.
So last week, or on the last Eras Tour edition, I brought up to you when we were talking about the Cowboys-Seahawks playoff game in 06.
Yep.
When the Cowboys had that field goal fiasco.
Yep.
And I said to you, how many teams today, 4th and 1 of the 2 with all their timeouts, would have gone for it instead of kicked the field goal? And you say a lot of teams would have gone for it. And I agree with you. Because here's the thing about analytics this, analytics that. This next Sunday Night Football on NBC game as we're going for it on 4th and 2 was not a great idea. Even though the analytics said it was.
Yeah.
Chase, let me ask you a question. Would you rather give Peyton Manning the football at your 30-yard line or make him have to go about 70 yards to win the game?
I'd make him want to go 70 yards, but at the same time, I would actually throw a play that's beyond the sticks.
Oh, that's a thought.
Yeah.
Okay. New England, Indianapolis, Week 10, 2009. That's one of the greatest Sunday Night Football and NBC games. People remember the 4th and 2. People remember how it ended. Look at the box score of that game, and you'll see the greatness of Tom Brady and Randy Moss and Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne on full display. This was Patriots-Colts at the peak of the powers of this rivalry. It was their 3rd time on SNF on NBC in 4 seasons. 2nd time, it was Brady versus Manning. Remember, Brady was injured the previous season. But this game, the Colts trail by 17 in the 4th quarter of the game, and then they came back to win 35-34. It was so the Colts scored 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. 3 touchdowns. It was a 29-yard pass from Manning to Garcon. Joseph Adai, how about that name? 4-yard rush. Yeah. And then Reggie Wayne with a 1-yard touchdown with 13 seconds left. Peyton Manning in that game, 28-44, 327, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Reggie Wayne, 10 for 126 and 2 touchdowns. Tom Brady, by the way, 29-42, 375, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Randy Moss, all he did, 9 for 179, 2 touchdowns. I mean, this was the Patriots and the Colts at just an unbelievable apex of what was the best rivalry in the NFL.
Easy. It was the best rivalry. And, you know, it also shows that this is actually, and that's not even the only time that series was decided as to where a quarterback had to come down from 3+ scores to win a football game. I mean, they did that a couple years later, this time for Tom Brady. But the thing is, like, a football game is never – a football game's never over until it's actually over. One, that's obvious. It sounds like, Booker McFarland saying that. But what I mean is, if you're down 17 in the 4th quarter, you score once, get a quick stop, you're right back in it. Like, that's the thing about it is, like, you talk about how basketball is a game of runs, but once you gain momentum in football, the ability to erase that type of a deficit in the 4th quarter is unlike any other, because you start to feel that, especially when you have, if you have an elite quarterback and your offense isn't feeling it in the late portion of the game, and you're giving the ball back to the other team that has an elite quarterback that's feeling it, you've got fear inside your organization, and you're probably going to end up losing if you can't make those plays down the stretch in the 4th quarter. That's why the Patriots went for it on 4th and 2, because they saw Peyton Manning and then were getting hot. They were like, we need to have some sort of a last-ditch effort instead of them just marching right down the field. But they made the wrong decision, play call, whatever you want to call it. I'm not an offensive coordinator, but you would think that you would try to go beyond the sticks instead of behind it on 4th and 2 to get that extra couple yards and win the football game and ice any chance that Peyton Manning and the red-hot Colts were going for, because they were undefeated at that point. And hence the fact they were the 1 seed and made the Super Bowl that year.
And Josh McDaniels was not the offensive coordinator for the Patriots in that game. He was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. That was their first season after he took the job in Denver. You bring up an interesting point about momentum, because there's so much. Football is such an emotional game, and there's so many things happening during the course of the game. And when you start to blow that 17-point lead, perhaps Bill Belichick thought, if we're going to win this game, we're going to win it with our offense. But to your point, if you're going to go for it on 4th and 2, why are you throwing behind the sticks? Like, why aren't you throwing a simple out route to Randy Moss, or better yet, just have him go over the middle? What's the worst that can happen, right? He doesn't make the catch. It's incomplete. He's double covered. At least you're going for it. Yeah. Okay, for a team in Bill Belichick that always played to win and not to lose, or not to lose, that was a safe call, and it came back to bite them. But truly one of the great SNF on NBC games. Perhaps that'll be the game we watch, the next SNF watch party leading into this 2009. I mean, to see the players that are going to be a part of that game. So 2009, like the rest of the season, yeah, there were some good SNF on NBC games. The Steelers and Ravens played a game. The Ravens won in overtime, Week 12. It was a Sunday after Thanksgiving. Vikings Cardinals played. There's a great clip on YouTube. I forget where it is, but you sent it to me a while back. It's the open. By the way, the open is an aerial view of the desert. How about that for an open shot? And then they like pan across the field going this way, and then they go to Bob Costas, Al Michaels, and Cris Collinsworth on the same set. They were on site for several years. I mean, you want to talk about three sportscasting legends on the same set on Primetime's eventual #1 show. Yeah, this was peak Sunday Night Football on NBC.
It was, because I think what made it even better as to having those three on set was just the opening music just matched everything. You can tell, obviously, they've done some alterations to the music and everything else that's going, with SNF on NBC. Wow. Like some of the opens that Bob Costas was running out there, they were down to a T. The wordplay was subtle, but it was, it was a fantastic display of what he was trying to get his point across, and a perfect teaser to the game, the main entree that we've been waiting to see all day.
Yep.
So it was fantastic to have him leading that show, but then opening up with Al and Cris right there as they talk a little bit about a couple of games throughout the day, but not a whole lot at that time, kind of sprinkle in a little bit, and then talk about the game that's coming up that night. Those three right there, you knew every single week that it was a big game when you saw those three. It's like these are the voices of big-time football right here as we're gearing up for war on Sunday night.
War on Sunday night. The tough do get rough in a primetime fight, and there will be several of those coming up this season. So, the Eagles and Giants played a great Week 14 game. I'm sure you remember that game. It was Eagles 45, Giants 38. The Giants had 500-plus yards of offense, but 4 turnovers. It's interesting to me, Chase. You said it on the last show that the 2008 Giants looked like a team that was going to become a dynasty. And in 2009, they started 5-0. They finished 8-8. They really collapsed down the stretch.
They did. They had some interesting Decembers in general. In that time frame toward the late 2000s, they really just, I don't know. They were an odd team where just like they would kind of limp themselves into the playoffs, or they wouldn't make the playoffs, and they would just kind of fall apart at the worst time possible.
Bob Costas referred to it as the November swoon. And if you play in New York, it'll catch on.
It did.
So there were 2 playoff games on SNF on NBC in 2009, as there were from 2006 through 2013 on Wildcard Weekend. I don't think we need to talk about the first one because that brings back too many bad memories. The second one, look how great this played out. Eagles-Cowboys, the first season for the Cowboys, at the time it was referred to as Cowboy Stadium, or you could just call it Jerry World. The 2 teams had played the week prior for the NFC East title. Mind you, this was the last season before the NFL went to all division games in week 17, now week 18.
Yep.
So the Cowboys beat the Eagles, which means it was going to be Eagles-Cowboys again from Dallas or Arlington, Texas on Super Wildcard Weekend. And the Cowboys just shredded Philadelphia in that game, 34-14. All right. Now we go to 2010. The final season for Andrea Kramer on SNF on NBC. Did you know, Chase, that the opening night kickoff game between the Vikings and the Saints, which I remember NBC ballooned the hype for this game. It was all summer long they hyped up this game. Brett Favre going back to his hometown just months after the Bounty Gate game, which, by the way, you can listen to the entire Westwood One broadcast on YouTube of that game, including commercials. It's quite fun. So it's the rematch of the NFC Championship. It's also the first SNF on NBC game in the Superdome. It took 5 years. 5 years.
Wild.
And it's so interesting to think about how the NFL always seemed to know when Drew Brees was going to break a record and to have them in primetime, especially on SNF on NBC. How did the NFL just know that was going to happen?
I don't know. The all-seeing eye of the league is ever knowing.
Well, let's talk about some key games from 2010. This was an interesting season, to say the least. So, opening night kickoff was Vikings Saints. Saints won that game 14-9. We had a Manning Bowl. We had the Manning Bowl again. This one wasn't nearly as compelling as the first one, though. The Colts absolutely whitewashed the Giants. Jets Dolphins was week 3.
Yeah, Dolphins wore their orange uniforms. That made it
rare.
It made it more interesting. Yeah.
Bears Giants was week 4. Eagles Niners was week 5. Okay, so you may remember this. The Bengals played the Buccaneers. They lost in some crazy way. And then the Reds had a home playoff game behind me at Great American Ballpark that night. They also lost to the Phillies. So the Phillies are playing the Reds. At the same time, the Eagles are playing on Sunday Night Football. And this was the Eagles, when we all thought they were going to become the dream team of the NFL, which we will explain on the next show why they didn't. Then you had Colts, Redskins. Both teams were 3-2 at the time. Vikings, Packers. Oh, wait a minute. We got a game on the week of the World Series? Look at this. Finally, Sunday Night Football on NBC, and Frank and Chase was like, you see this? Yeah, we're going to flex this bad boy right here. And we're going to put Steelers and Saints in New Orleans. So you have black and gold versus black and gold on Halloween. Whoever came up with that idea, that was a genius marketing pitch.
Definitely was. It worked out perfectly. I mean, and you had the last 2 Super Bowl champions go against each other.
I didn't even think about that. I did not even think about that. Not to mention you had two players that made up the last 2 Madden covers.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was like the Saints' high-powered offense against the Steelers' defense. And the Steelers, by the way, won their first Super Bowl in New Orleans 35 years prior. So there is that. Okay. 2 weeks later. Have you heard of a guy named Gronk?
I do remember a guy named Gronk.
And this was his breakout game. By the way,
yes, it was. This
was peak Patriots Steelers. I mean, this was a heavyweight matchup every time these two teams got together. But you want to talk about box scores? You want to look at what the Patriots did to the Steelers, Chase, in this game. I mean, it was just a clinic that they put on. 39-26 final score. The Patriots had 453 total yards of offense. Brady was 30 of 43 for 353 touchdowns, and all 3 touchdowns went to Rob Gronkowski, who had 5 catches for 72 yards in that game. Oh, by the way, Big Ben was also 30 of 49 for 387 and 3 touchdowns. Mike Wallace, 8 for 136 and 2 touchdowns. Talk about an offensive explosion. That's what this game was.
Yeah, and it was long hair Tom Brady. Like, people forget about that era of Tom Brady because they didn't win a Super Bowl for 10 years. But it was that weird time frame after he came off the injury to, when they made the Super Bowl again in 2011. Like, that time frame, like, no one really talks about that. The Patriots won 14 games that year. And, Tom Brady, I mean, the Patriots quietly dominated the regular season in 2010.
Well, Tom Brady had like 34 touchdowns and 4 interceptions that season. He was named MVP. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Gronkowski, and I was thinking about this recently. Here's his impact on the NFL. He revolutionized the tight end position because there were so many tight ends that came before him, and there were so many tight ends who came after him. I truly think without Gronk, it would have been more difficult for guys like Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But because Gronk came along and was destroying defenses and racking up stats, people then realized, oh, wait a second, there are more tight ends also doing this.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that 100%. I mean, there are, like, all tight ends are obviously, I don't want to say they all come in all different shapes and sizes because they're all big, but you have some guys that are, that are receiver built like tight ends, like a Travis Kelce, who's, you have some guys that are just Ironman over the middle. You've got guys that are just great, like overly great blockers, like George Kittles and everything else, sure-handed tight ends. Like there are different, it's like pouring like a cup of water and the analogy just like flooded. It's okay. But you know what I'm trying to say. There's different types of tight ends out there. And then you have a bunch of these guys who are very good at just many parts of their game. But when you have a guy like Gronk, who, I mean, again, like a genetic freak of a tight end, where it's like kind of like a Frankenstein of sorts. It's like, this guy literally was crazy. All right, Gronk is crazy good at football, crazy in general. He just wanted to go out there, play football, party, have fun, and win Super Bowls. And that's exactly what Rob Gronkowski did at a dominant rate.
Dominant rate. I mean, he burst onto the scene, completely changed the way Bill Belichick coached, completely changed the way the Patriots offense, because now you had a tight end to deal with. I mean, if the Patriots hadn't drafted him, and Randy Moss ended up getting traded in the middle of that season, they still had Wes Welker. They still had a guy like Brandon Lloyd. But without Rob Gronkowski, I'm not sure where that offense is. And then you think about what Brady and him were able to do in the playoffs from 2011 through 2018. It was ridiculous. And then now you look at other tight ends, as you mentioned, Travis Kelce, who came in. And as soon as he got good and got a superstar quarterback, I mean, it's just the tight end position has become such a – Evan Ingram was a tight end that had 113 catches.
You can't discount the position.
No.
Because when you have a great tight end, I mean, that offensive flow, it's like having four receivers out there, and you can spread things out. And this guy's so versatile. There's so much you can do with a great tight end.
It's why the Bengals extended Mike Gesicki, because now you have another dimension of your offense that defenses are going to have to account for.
Exactly.
Okay, so we continue through 2010. We have the Giants and Eagles. I so miss when this matchup was like one of the premier matchups on the schedule.
Yeah.
We had the Chargers and the Colts. The Chargers absolutely shellacked the Colts in this game, by the way. We get to week 13, and the open to this game was to the soundtrack of AC/DC's Thunderstruck, and they're showing both teams like the industrial parts of Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and they're showing like 22 Pro Bowlers, 3 defensive players of the year, and all these photos of like great players, defense. And by the way, most of them played in this game. If you look at the starting lineups for this game, week 13, 2010, you ready for this?
Here.
Okay. So here are the starting lineups. And by the way, both teams were 8-3. The Steelers had 288 total yards in this game. The Ravens had 269. Each team also had 1 turnover. So, yeah, it was that kind of game. Interestingly, both teams had 9 penalties. But the starting lineups in this game, we'll go to the defenses. So for the Steelers, it was Evander Hood, Brett Kiesel, Casey Hampton, Lamar Woodley, James Farrior, Lawrence Timmons, James Harrison, Brian McFadden, William Gay, Troy Polamalu, Ryan Clark. For the Ravens, it was Corey Redding, Haloti Ngata, Kelly Gray, Terrell Suggs, Jameel McClain, Ray Lewis, Jared Johnson, Chris Carr, Josh Wilson, DeJuan Landry, Ed Reed.
Jeez.
Oh, God.
It's insane. And you think about it in the open for SNF, whenever it never got to Steelers Ravens. It always gets nasty when these two get down.
Yep.
That's all you need to say in the open.
And you think about Ben Roethlisberger was injured coming into that game. He had like a special fitted shoe. And then of course, you want to make your mark for defensive player of the year, just make the play of the game. That's what Troy Polamalu did. And it was 34 degrees that night. AFC North football at its finest.
Love it.
And by the way, both head coaches are still with their current teams. So other matchups, we had Eagles, Cowboys, Packers, Patriots when Dan Connolly made the earth shake with that incredible kickoff return.
Rumbling, bumbling,
Tuesday night game, Chase, Vikings and Eagles. You know what the originally scheduled SNF on NBC game that week was?
Yeah, Chargers, Bengals, believe it or not.
So the game was played on Tuesday. Do you remember, like, I was at the Bengals game that Sunday against the Chargers. Do you remember if they had Football Night in America that night because the game was postponed?
I believe they did. I think they just. I'm pretty sure they just did like a recap of all the games from the day. I think that was pretty much all.
Interesting. Okay, we get to week 17. The quarterback matchup in this game. Yeah. It was Sam Bradford versus Charlie Whitehurst.
Yeah.
But yet there was something significant on the line. This was the first time. This is the first year, Chase, where they had divisional matchups the last week of the regular season. Was the NFL smart to do that?
Oh, geez, yeah, 100%, 1,000%, 10,000%.
Okay, the next week, Chase, when you were sitting on your couch the day of January 8th, 2011, did you feel like a tremor beneath you or something?
Well, it was funny because I was playing in a youth soccer game indoors in Fairborn, Ohio at Sportsplex, and I was able to get to my couch by the fourth quarter at my grandparents' house, but I did feel a bit of a tremble from the earth. I did feel a little bit of a shake here, there, everywhere, and a guy with a number. Yeah, guy with the number 24. He was the one that caused it.
Okay. There are moments in the NFL you remember where you were when they happened. This is one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. This was an unbelievable run by Marshawn Lynch. I mean, you think this was going to go for like a 2-yard gain. Seattle was 7-9. The Saints were 11-5. Oh, by the way, they were the reigning Super Bowl champions. Matt Hasselbeck didn't even start the previous week. He started that game, played well. I mean, it's one of the craziest, most unique, crazy SNF on NBC games in its history.
Yeah, I mean, you had a team that won its division below 500 take down the defending Super Bowl champions in the first game of the playoffs on Wild Card Saturday. I mean, I don't know how much crazier it gets.
By the way, both head coaches are now coaching in the same division all these years later.
Wow, man.
We'll see them. And now Michaels is going to be calling their matchup in week 10 on Prime Video, the Raiders and the Broncos. The last SNF on NBC game in this era was in Indianapolis. Chase, it was the last game Peyton Manning ever played for the Colts.
And who else would ruin the party but Rex Ryan and the New York Jets?
Huh?
Who else would ruin the party? It's literally they are the team that would do that. And that's exactly what they did.
To their credit, the Jets were really good that year. They were 11-5. They were 11-5. LT was on that team. He was really good that year. Mark Sanchez was good. I mean that defense was ferocious.
They were tough.
I mean, the Colts were good. They were 10-6. They won their last 4 games to get into the playoffs as the AFC South champions. They weren't a vaunted Colts team.
No.
And also, I think the Jets had revenge on their minds from the AFC Championship game the year prior.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. And by the way, the Colts took the lead with like a minute to go. So credit Mark Sanchez for leading a game-winning drive with just like about 50 seconds to go.
Yeah.
If the Colts had won that game, they would have been at Pittsburgh the next week, and then the Ravens would have gone to play New England. You could have had some elite matchups in the playoffs in the divisional round. What we ended up getting was Ravens-Steelers, and this was like Ravens-Steelers at the peak of their rivalry. You remember this game, Greg Gumbel, which we sadly lost back in December, called that game. I mean, this was – see, we live in an era of great quarterback play now, Chase. There was great quarterback play in 2010. And as we'll get to in the next show in 2011, it exploded.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chase, 2011, 2012 is their next 2 seasons. A Super Bowl season for SNF on NBC.
Yeah, and a big one, to say the least. I mean, it was a game in the Midwest in Indianapolis, and a matchup that we saw not too many years before. Was the result the same? No, it wasn't.
So in the house that Peyton built, but Eli ended up claiming glory that night.
He did. Yeah.
Peyton's biggest rival. And there are some fantastic games. In 2011, and in 2012. We'll get to the 100th SNF on NBC game in franchise history. We'll dig deeper into Ravens Steelers and why this matchup is just made for Sunday Night Football on NBC. It's going to be unbelievably fun to get into this. The Bengals will make an appearance on this list, Chase, the first SNF on NBC game in the great city of Cincinnati, and it's significant for you.
Yes, it is. I was at that game, actually. Believe it or not, I was there.
I remember staying in the Steelers team hotel that weekend.
Really?
Unbeknownst to me when we checked in. It's the Westin, which you live close to at your nice apartment in downtown. All right, Chase, anything else we've got? We're 10 days away from the first SNF on NBC game. We got training camp on Wednesday. Anything significant that you have seen since we were last with you, which was July 3rd the last time? No, it was July 2nd we were last with you.
Yeah, I mean it was a bit ago. We're getting there. Excited. I'm just ready for football to start again, man. We've entered that time period where it's just like you can smell it. You can smell the pig skins are ready to fly, and so excited to see where this thing goes. 2025.
Will Trey Hendrickson be extended before Wednesday morning?
I have no clue. Don't even know.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that.
No clue.
Now, if he is, does that change the tone of the offseason it's been for the Bengals?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yep.
I think you're right. I think because then all of Joe Burrow's needs, Gesicki, check. Chase, check. Higgins, check. Hendrickson, check.
All of them.
It's like Michael Jordan in The Last Dance. We took care of you, we took care of you, and now we take care of you.
Yep, exactly.
By the way, speaking of basketball, we want to congratulate our good friend Ian Eagle being officially named to the Prime Video, NBA on Prime Video broadcast roster. Kevin Harlan being named to that as well. Eric Collins, who you know. I mean, it's a really good list. It's a really, really good list.
Yes, it is. Good list. Can't wait.
All right, Chase, why don't you close us out this edition of the Eras Tour?
Well, with that being said, it's Alex Frank. I'm Chase Younts, and we'll see you next time on the Waiting All Day for SNF podcast. We'll see you guys.